The Out of Bounds Show podcast is brought to you by Live Oaks Golf Club and Roosevelt's at Live Oaks. Whether you're in the mood for a hot lunch or you want to go play a quick 18 with a cold beer, the only choice is Live Oaks Golf Club and Roosevelt at Live Oaks on Highway 49 North.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
All systems go.
Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the Bank Plus studio.
This is now recorded.
Live in the studio. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Low Bounds. Streaming live worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app. And on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
All set? Let's go.
The Zone.
All right. Good morning. Welcome in. What is happening? I feel like it's been a while since I've been here. I think it has, actually. Maybe the last time we were in here was last Tuesday? Wednesday? Cool. The Smoot was in on Tuesday. Yeah. And then I knew I did a couple of shows from the Boathouse. All right, cool. Well, we're live in the Bank Plus studio. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone. Powered by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook. Bet $50 there. Play award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club for $30. That goes through March 30th. Or 35. How many days are in March, Blakey Blakester? I don't know.
31.
Anyway, sounds good. It goes till the end of March. Bet 50, play for 30. Golden Moon Casino and Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. Welcome in, welcome in. We are streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. Several different ways you can get in touch with us. First and foremost, thanks for making us your sports and entertainment show of choice. We have a really, really good show lined up for you today. Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line is 601-707-3750. Twitter handle at BowBounds, brought to you by RPT and Rick's Pro Truck. And then the Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor text line is 601-885-3776. It was a little weird this weekend with no football. I'll be honest. First weekend since the NFL kicked off, which was, some weeks before the SEC. Obviously, the ACC and Big 12 kicked off before that. But first weekend without football since second week in September.
Hot garbage.
Yeah, I missed it.
It's tough.
I love it. I love watching it, consuming it, and love watching college football for 10, 11 hours on a Saturday. And then the NFL is just so good. And, of course, the production level and red zone and everything else that we get to do with that is pretty amazing. But, yeah, no football, but we have football this weekend. And real quick, I'm going to get into some local stuff, SEC and MSU and Ole Miss. But do you realize how unbelievable it is that Tom Brady's in the Super Bowl? Just stop and think about it for 5 seconds. Tom Brady is playing in his 10th Super Bowl. For my kids' age, that's all they know. Tom Brady. He's huge. He's just as big as, entertainers or whatever, musicians they follow. I mean, Tom, I know he's married to a supermodel wife and all that, but Brady, Jordan was the biggest athlete, biggest name that I grew up with in sports. I never thought a golfer would do what Tiger did, but Jordan was the biggest. And there were some big ones, right? Magic and Larry. But Jordan, by far and away, takes the cake. I didn't really get to do the whole Muhammad Ali thing. And again, when Muhammad Ali was rolling, we didn't have sports talk radio, iPhones, the internet, Twitter, and everything else. Tom Brady is in his 10th Super Bowl in a league that's not like Alabama. Alabama today is let's go low. Or let's try to be somewhat fair. Alabama's 17 points better than Ole Miss and Mississippi State right now today.
It's generous of you.
Make it go 25, 26. And Mississippi State and Ole Miss have good rosters, but they're better than everybody. And the NFL is a league where you're supposed to go 8-8, and everybody gets the same deal and the same opportunities. And the reason why you're not talented is not because you're a blue blood. It's not. It's whether your personnel department is good, whether you understand how to evaluate talent.
You get a little lucky.
And a little lucky, and you know how to fill out a 53-man roster. Do you know how to do that? A lot of teams don't. I mean, they're multi-billion-dollar organizations. They still don't know what to do. And then we have teams that know how to do it every year, like the Saints and the Ravens. And obviously the Chiefs and the Buccaneers are new to the party for several reasons. But Tom Brady in a league where you're supposed to go 8-8 is in his 10th Super Bowl. Think about that.
In 21 seasons. It's 50%. You have as likely a chance that Tom Brady's in a Super Bowl the last 2 decades as you do flipping a coin, heads or tails. Think about that. What other athlete in NFL history could you say anything close to that about? He's not the most talented quarterback or whatever, but there's zero doubt that he's the most accomplished.
Best.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
I mean, is Mahomes more talented? Yes.
But Tom Brady's accomplishments are incredible.
Tom Brady's ability to do this over the long haul, and I understand Mahomes could pick up his second. If I had to bet right now, I'm betting that, Mahomes, even though we're on this crazy run, will not come close to playing in 10 Super Bowls. That the Chiefs, eventually paying all these people, including Mahomes, they're going to run out of,
it's so hard to get
flexibility.
There. It's so hard to get there. What Tom's done is remarkable that he got to that many.
Yeah, because of what he's done in the AFC Championship games prior and his one NFC Championship game.
And who he had to go. I mean, think about this. We like to knock it, but, I mean, he had to beat Peyton Manning for half of his career to get to the title. And although Peyton didn't win a lot against Brady, it's not like beating Peyton Manning was easy. So, I mean, Tom Brady did not walk through this like playing, Alabama A&M and Northwestern State.
And Peyton had better personnel.
Yeah, a lot of times.
I mean, well,
but
Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison.
The coaching
for years
for Belichick was just remarkable.
Exactly.
And now that he's doing it without Belichick, I don't think this has any impact on what they accomplished together. I hate that idea. Like, this means that Belichick was terrible and Brady carried the shit. That's not what this means.
No.
But
Belichick's the best ever.
To see him do it with Bruce Arians and that group in 1 year explains that there's more to Tom Brady than just Bill Belichick.
Right.
And that's incredible. Because a lot of people, I don't think, thought that coming into this season.
I agree with that.
Is this his last one?
Brady's?
If you had to say right now, Tom Brady does play or does not play in a Super Bowl after this Sunday, what's your answer? He's only got 3 seasons, maybe.
Hold on, let me think at the NFC real quick.
2 seasons, maybe 3.
Oh, gosh, Breeze is gone.
There's no one in his division.
The best quarterback in his division, in his deal, is Russell Wilson on the NFC side. Yeah. Dak's up there in the top.
The Rams maybe got better. We'll talk about that later today. But
they landed an SEC player.
That's right.
Matthew Stafford played at Georgia.
Let's go, baby. No Sean Matthew. Come on, let's go. That Georgia team underperformed.
Is that what it is? Is Matthew Stafford just not as good as we want him to be?
His stats are. Did you know the only time he's had a top 12 defense in the league, they finished 11-5, made the playoffs?
Wow.
They're not. Detroit's been literally abysmal.
Wow.
It's been worse than we've thought. So, Sean McVay.
Hey, say that stat again.
In his 10 or 11 seasons at Detroit, the one time they had a top 12 defense, they finished 11-5.
That is strong.
Stafford's a good QB.
Okay. So if they can put it together, can he go over there and win? How about that? Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff?
And like 3 first-round picks, couple thirds. It was incredible.
Oh, man.
It just proves the NFL monster never stops, baby. NFL monster never stops.
And speaking of a monster, we have the Super Bowl this Sunday. We're going to do a huge giveaway, too, this week.
Feed it to me.
And it's going to be really, really cool, worth a ton of jack, and it's a nice deal. And we'll run it through the
OB app.
Yeah, the Out of Bounds radio app. I noticed that pops up now.
Yep. Okay. Started end of the week. We're running it through this week.
I love it.
Yep.
I love it. What an easy way and a great platform to do it. We would love for you to download the Out of Bounds radio app today. Welcome in. Good morning. All right, David Morris played at Ole Miss, back up to Eli Manning. Owns his own QB coaching shop, QBcountry.com. He's out of the Mobile area. Coach Mac Jones among many others. And so he is going to join us at 7:35 today. David Morris, former Ole Miss QB country, at 7:35. John Ledyard, NFL draft guru, at 8:30. And then Charlie Burris on Tennessee and Heupel. Ole Miss plays Tennessee this year, by the way. Is that it? That's in Rocky Top, isn't it? I think it is. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. Welcome in on a Monday.
Board. What's on the big board?
Oh, goodness gracious. It's National Get Up Day, and the Blakey Blakester was late. So we laughed about that before the show.
Only me. Only
Yeah.
I could pull that off.
You've never been late
I
like that.
I may do a lot of things
your
wrong.
whole time here.
I've never been late. Not like that.
Never, ever been late.
Yeah. Listen, what do you talk about? Availability is the best ability, right? Normally I'm here.
It's a good point. If you're not available, tell me what your value is.
Yeah. Especially
to
in this,
me, the company,
in
the
this
world,
job.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was ironic. I laughed at that when we pulled up National. I was late. I was like 35 minutes late, 40 minutes late. And I pull up the National Day when I get in here, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
That's funny.
It's ironic. It's incredible.
That's funny.
You can't
I
write
don't know
that
whether
script.
to make fun of you on National Get Up Day or the show Get Up.
Oh. Poll 10% or less of our audience watches that show, has watched that show.
Yeah.
It's bad.
And Mike Greenberg is very talented.
His midday radio show is 10 times better than what that is.
Dude, what Greenberg did on Sports Talk Radio, kind of like Dan Patrick and some other, just the guy's phenomenal. I mean, he's got a fastball, like, big time. Yeah, that shows it. But anyway, we were having fun with that. National Get Up Day. What do you do with that? You get up and do some jumping jacks?
I guess some people don't get up early or don't get up and do everything.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Isn't that like half the country?
Probably.
Okay.
At this point, yeah.
All right, the big board this morning is presented by Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center. Any age, any sport, any injury, they've got you covered. And they have you covered at their new surgery center and clinic, Lakeland Drive, Flowood, Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic, and then MississippiSportsMedicine.com. Very active on social media, too. Welcome in. Good morning. How much time I'm going to spend on this? I don't know what it says about me that I watched Ole Miss and Mississippi State play simultaneously on Saturday afternoon. I had two TVs going in the living room. It may say that I need to get a life. Probably. But I'll go through that real quick. Ole Miss lost a game that was close for a long time against Georgia. And then Mississippi State beat a bad Iowa State team. But they needed a win, and they got one. So that's your basketball update this morning. I don't know how much more you want to discuss it. If you do, that's great. Mississippi Ag text line, Mississippi Ag, John Deere Tractor text line, 601-885-3776. Super Bowl this weekend. Kansas City Chiefs, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Chiefs are favored by 3. And I thought TJ made a great point. And this is how it goes in sports. 7-3 will sound a whole lot better than 6-4 if you're Brady. Can't wait to see how it plays out. That's a great point. I mean, he's lost. He first of all, this is remarkable, amazing, incredible. You can use anything you want there. Tom Brady is in his 10th Super Bowl this weekend. Holy Mary Olzab.
No one's even close to that.
No one's even close, but you're right. He's 6-3. He's either going to be 6-4 or 7-3. After at about 9:00 on Sunday night, after we all get through stuffing our faces and watching football, which I'm really excited about. I will get it. Somebody asked about the Madison Central and Brandon jobs. I do think that there's a lot of movement there. We'll discuss that at some point, too. David Morris, QB Country, former Ole Miss quarterback, 7:35. David Morris, 7:35 on Mac Jones. And just, well, the coolest position in sports, the QB. in college, high school, college, and NFL. Do I have somebody on the phone?
Yes.
All right. Do you have something to say?
I was going to ask you, does it really taint your opinion of Tom Brady if he loses this Sunday to one of the most talented rosters in the history of the NFL?
No, not for me. I get what TJ's saying, though. No, he's already solidified himself as this, that, and the other. But in the world of Twitter and guys that want to beat up on successful people, that's not what I'm saying about TJ. I'm just talking about, like, fans.
Yeah.
I think that there could be a lot of, now we know. Well, what do we know?
We know he took a team of nobodies to the playoffs
Right.
for the first time in 17 years.
We know that he won 10 AFC and NFC championship games.
Tampa didn't have a playoff victory since 2003.
Yeah, they had not. He didn't lose a playoff game until after he'd won 3 Super Bowls.
Come on,
do we
guys.
need to just?
Yeah.
The discussions like it starts quick and ends. It's kind of like when you get older and you're talking to somebody who just doesn't know anything about anything.
Yeah.
I can end that conversation in like 3 seconds and just walk away.
Yeah.
And not feel bad
I just think
about it.
Tom's, to me, what he's done, getting Tampa to this point in this season is more valuable than a Super Bowl, in my opinion. I know
It's amazing.
But, like, I don't think people understand how, what he did is so difficult.
He took a franchise, like you said, Blake, that really hasn't won for the better part of 45 years.
Nothing.
Other than the Tony Dungy and them put together a great roster. Gruden walked in and found the magic for 1 year. For the most part, Tampa Bay has been terrible.
Yeah.
In his first year, he takes them to the Super Bowl. It is extremely difficult just to get to one of the championship games. This is not like college football. And Nick Saban's a good coach, but it's not even comparable how good a coach Belichick and Jimmy Johnson and some of these others are. I mean, Saban has his margin for error on Saturday is bigly. Your margin for error in this game, razor thin.
Yeah.
It's just, it's remarkable. Let's go to the phones. Who do we have?
Andre,
good morning. You're on the Out of Bounds show.
Oh, good morning, guys.
Talk to me.
Hey, I wanted to weigh in on this Matthew Stafford situation here.
Yes.
To be honest with you, I really don't think it's that much of an upgrade. I mean, you got to look at a young Jared Goff, 3 years in the league, 3 playoff appearances, and a Super Bowl. The guy's only maybe about 24, 25 years old, if he's that old. And then I look at a guy like Matthew Stafford, 12 years in the league, no playoff wins, nothing to really jump through hoops about. So I think Detroit got the better of the deal.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm not sure if either team got a really good deal out of it. All right, thanks for the call, Andre. I love that you brought this up. Andre on the Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, 601-707-3750. This is where it's going to get crazy, y'all.
Yep.
Okay? New Orleans is about to go through something, so we just had a swap. This is unheard of in the NFL. We just had 2 first-round picks at the quarterback position that were traded over the weekend. And it's teams that y'all watch play or follow because of fantasy football, even though Detroit's terrible. At least Barry Sanders played there, right? And they play on Thanksgiving. So those are 2 things that Detroit brings to the table. Barry Sanders, and they play on Thanksgiving.
they play the Packers twice a year, which we have a lot of Packers fans.
And we have a ton of Packers fans, so you've watched them because you loved Brett Favre, and it kind of trickled over into Aaron Rodgers. But this is, and Matthew Stafford's an SEC kid, so this hits home locally. This is incredible what happened over the weekend, and we're just getting started. We don't know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. We don't know what the Saints are going to do once Breeze officially announces. We don't know what Aaron Rodgers is going to do, and there's several. I mean, what is San Francisco going to do with Jimmy G? Is Belichick going to make a move and go get his former player, and San Francisco get a bunch of picks? And Belichick's sitting there thinking, I can win with Jimmy G. I already proved that I can win with him.
Speaking of that, did you see where Matthew Stafford told the Lions, I'll go anywhere but New England? He had a no-trade clause given his contract, and he said, I will literally go anywhere but New England. You cannot trade me to New England.
You know what? In a way, I don't blame him. That's just not for everybody.
And that place is not a good roster. It is bad.
Yeah, I mean, Brady was able to elevate a bunch of skill players that were, they're not terrible because to play in the league, you're amazing, but they're not elite players. It's not like what Patrick Mahomes is working with. I mean, Tyreek Hill is one of the biggest freaks I've ever watched in my life.
Most 40-yard touchdowns in the league this year.
I mean, number 10 for Kansas City is worth turning on your television on Sunday afternoon. David Morris, QB Country, former Ole Miss QB, coming up at 7:35 in the SEC Insider Hit, presented by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent.
Come on.
Everyone ready?
This is the SEC Insider Hit. Presented by your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Go local. Go with a home team.
All right, so this is fun. We're gonna have fun here. David Morris, QB Country, is gonna move to tomorrow. He had something come up, so we'll go 7:35, 7:40 tomorrow. I want to get into this, Blake, because we like to try to put the value on players in Starkville and Oxford, like Matt Corral and Will Rogers mean an enormous amount, right? When you're looking at the board and you're like, value a position, value a player. Yeah. Nothing against an outside linebacker, but or a free safety or a left guard. Everybody's important, but when I'm putting this thing up on the board, I'm like, Matt Corral, quarterback, Ole Miss, most important position on the field. He is an elite talent at the collegiate level. We think it'll translate to the NFL, but I'm just talking about for Ole Miss. He can play the position at a high, and he can lead you to a win. The left guard can't. The free safety, 99.9% of the time, cannot. And the middle linebacker, 99.9%. I understand there's pick sixes and strip fumbles on the 4, and all of a sudden we score. It's awesome. We score, and that guy's the reason why. But when you look at value of pick and position, look at what happened over the weekend. Because we know what Matt Corral, like, if Matt Corral's not playing next year, I mean, that's a 7. I'm probably going low. And this is an enormous amount of points in football. It's kind of like if you have a good QB at the high school level, too. We know about this. If you have a dude who is either just so physically dominant that nobody can stop him, which can happen, but not as prevalent today as it maybe once was. But if you got a guy that can sling it and complete passes, you start off so much further ahead than anybody else. But so Matt Corral, if he's not playing for Ole Miss, it's 7 points at least, probably more than that.
It's multiple wins. Okay. Put it that way. Like, it is multiple wins.
And in football, one win is huge. It's not like basketball and baseball. We always, you get 35 plus in basketball, 56 plus in baseball.
Yeah.
One win can, if you go from 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, it's just night and day difference. Or 5 and 7, 6 and 6, and then you get in a bowl and then you win, and then you're 7 and 6, and again, the stake and everything on New Year's Eve night's a little bit better because you could have ended the season at 5 and 7, and instead you're 7 and 6, and you're like, oh wow, The point on Matt Corral is, let's just say he's 7, 8. I'd be cool with 9, 10 points at least.
Yeah.
So that's how valuable he is.
No doubt.
Okay. Will Rogers, we believe, will get there. He played exceptional as a true freshman. But Matt's like coming back as one of the most talented QBs in the country. He may be the most talented. Here's the point. When I look at what happened this weekend in the NFL in a blockbuster trade that never happens, Matthew Stafford, who played in the Southeastern Conference, has been out in the middle of Siberia as far as NFL circles, playing for the Detroit Lions for 12 years. And he is now moved. The Georgia Bulldog is moved to L.A. Well, what is L.A.? L.A. all of a sudden is in the playoffs every year under Sean McVay and Les Snead. And, I mean, they were within a whisker of winning the Super Bowl. And when you go to multiple playoff appearances over 4 and 5 years, that's unbelievable in this league. And they do a swap. Matthew Stafford to the L.A. Rams and Jared Goff to the Detroit Lions. And so my question is value a pick. And Blake's going to read off what each team got, okay, here in just a second. But I'm listening to Jimmy Johnson, who I think is probably the second greatest coach of all time, behind Bill Belichick. And yes, Jimmy's better than Nick Saban. Well, he doesn't have as many. I understand. He left the college game, went to the NFL. He wasn't going to be a lifer. But when you listen to his interview on the Dan Patrick Show from Friday, and he's talking about value of each draft pick and the draft board that he revolutionized, right? And the way that he was playing chess while everybody else was playing checkers. Look what he did. I mean, he fleeced the Vikings. Here's Herschel Walker. I'll take 19, whatever it was. All right. He drafted Steve Walsh, who was a backup quarterback in the NFL. He drafted him, and he had Troy Aikman with the Dallas Cowboys. He still drafts Steve Walsh, and then he talked a team into giving him a first, second, third round pick. These are just those two trades, the Herschel Walker trade for all those picks from Minnesota, and the fact that he drafted Steve Walsh, who was not John Elway, Joe Montana, any of these guys that we have followed. I mean, he's not close to Donovan McNabb. And Jimmy Johnson was able to play chess while everybody else was playing checkers in the NFL. But the LA Rams evidently don't value first-round picks, especially if they're in the bottom half of the first round is what you're picking. So I think what Les Snead is telling you is, if I had a top 5 pick, yeah. But when I pick at 22 and 24 and 27 because we're always in the playoffs, I don't. And look, we've said, let me bring it back local. I love both these guys. Evan Ingram and Jonathan Abram. What is their value? I mean, why were they picked that high? I mean, a flex tight end and a safety. Does that move the needle on Sundays? It doesn't. It just doesn't. And so Les Snead, the general manager of the LA Rams, has decided, if the 23rd pick here, you can have it. Here's what I need. We got to win now with Aaron Donald and this defense. Aaron Donald is a transcendent defensive lineman. Hall of Famer. I've got the right pieces. I've got the coach. We've got to win now. We'll go get Matthew Stafford. It's a slight upgrade. Andre asked me earlier, was it really an upgrade? It is. It's a slight, and I think people look at it and go, well, it's a slight upgrade. Well, all these games come down to like 3 or 4 points or one more win in the regular season, which then in turn gets you a little bit better playoff position, maybe another home game, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's all kind of like situational, like literally per possession. Do you believe Matthew Stafford can take the football at the 27-yard line more times and be successful, even if it's like 10 over the course of the season? Is how maybe Les Snead and all these analytics guys are crunching these numbers. Go ahead.
Yeah, some stats on Matthew Stafford. First player in the NFL to complete 60% or better in every game of a season. He did that in 2015. No one had done that. He also is the fastest player to reach, wait for this, the fastest quarterback to reach 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, and 45,000 career passing yards in the NFL. The dude can sling the rock. He's just had nothing around him. And as we mentioned a segment ago, the 1 year Detroit put a good defense on the field, a top 12 defense, which is just above middle of the pack. Top 12 defense, he went 11-5. They made the playoffs. So
the Rams look at this and they don't have a first round pick until 2024.
It's correct. I'll tell you exactly what the Rams gave up for Jared Goff.
Hold on. Your SEC Insider hit this morning is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. The Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line is 601-707-3750. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. This is Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. A couple of things that we're hitting on this morning. The fact that Tom Brady will be in his 10th Super Bowl. I want you to think about that. 10 Super Bowls. Also, I'd love to know who you're cheering for this weekend. I wonder if there's still this kind of big bad Brady or, complex deal. Obviously, Mahomes is the hot new young stud in the league.
So exciting.
Yeah, so it's 43 against 25 years old, which is incredible. It's the greatest of all time against probably the most talented of all time, which is amazing. And I think Patrick Mahomes was in elementary school when Tom Brady won his first Super Bowl. So what is going on? But who are you cheering for this weekend in the Super Bowl? We'll do other prop bets and food and all that kind of stuff as the week goes on. Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor text line is 601-885-3776. So we're talking about the value of a player and the value of a draft pick. You know, we use Matt Corral as an example. He's probably worth double digits for Ole Miss in 2021. I want you to think about that.
Well, if you lost him, you're not going bowling. I'll tell you that much right now.
It would be you're exactly right. It would be extremely difficult to get to 6-6 without him.
I mean, seriously,
that's how much that's what he can do on a Saturday.
Mike Leach doesn't beat Vanderbilt, Missouri, and the bowl game, which it's incredible. I can't even remember who they played in the bowl, but they don't win those 3 games.
Tulsa.
Yeah, sorry. How could I forget Civil War 3?
Right.
You don't win those 3 games without Will Rogers.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, at the end of the day, the quarterback is the catalyst. You can point to individual plays in a game where a different position made a play to help win a game, but that play's not there if the quarterback doesn't play.
Well, and just so you'll know, 99 out of 100 Mississippi State football teams would not have won any of those games because the drop-off in their backup would have been so bad.
Correct.
It would have been a kid that should have been at La Monroe or something, that was just fine. But or maybe a backup at La Monroe. That would have been the backup at MSU.
Yep.
And that's the difference. All right, so Twitter handle @BowBounds. Go over real quick what they swapped for because I want to get back into some.
Well,
other
this
things.
is remarkable to speak to what the Rams believe about drafting. Okay?
Right.
So they gave up 2 first-round picks, 2022 and 2023. So the next 2 years, they gave up 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick to get Matthew Stafford, and to get Jared Goff. The Rams gave up 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and 2 third-rounders. So they gave up 6 picks to get Jared Goff in 2016. They have not drafted a first-rounder since they drafted Jared Goff in 2016. They gave up 6 total picks to get Jared Goff. Then they turned around and gave up 3 picks, 2 1s and a 3, to get rid of Jared Goff. So to encapsulate that, to both take and then get rid of Jared Goff and his $106 million in contract that's left, they gave up 4 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, 3 third-rounders. They will not draft a first-round draft pick unless they go trade for a pick.
Right.
They don't have a first-round draft pick from 2016 to 2024. It's never happened before.
Incredible.
No team's never gone 7 years without drafting a first-rounder.
All right, now let's go to Dak Prescott. In the 2016 NFL draft, quarterbacks.
Yes.
So all of these quarterbacks have either been benched, cut, or traded.
Correct.
Except Dak Prescott.
That's correct.
In the 2016 NFL draft, every single quarterback has either been cut, benched, or traded.
You ready? Here we go. Starting
Okay.
from the top
All right.
to when Dak got drafted.
All right.
Number 1, Jared Goff, first overall pick, just got traded.
Okay.
We just talked about that. They gave up almost as many picks as they got to get him.
I want our listeners to think about that. Can you imagine if that was you? I mean, in your business, somebody did that. Here's what we think of you as far as value.
Yeah. We'll give up almost as much as we got to get rid of you.
Yeah. All right, go ahead.
Jared Goff is traded. Carson Wentz, benched, shot fighter. That's the big storyline of this class, what Carson Wentz's future holds. Paxton Lynch, not in the NFL. Good job, John Elway. Christian Hackenberg, can't even believe he was up there, not in the NFL. Jacoby Brissett, traded. He's a career backup. Right. Cody Kessler, not in the NFL.
Hold on. Brissett.
Yep, he got traded
right,
to the Colts. You know, he started for the Colts for half a season.
Yeah.
Cody Kessler, out of the NFL.
The only reason he started was because of Andrew Luck retiring, right?
Yeah, surprisingly.
Okay.
And they traded for him from New England to be a backup, and then Andrew Luck got out.
Okay.
It was an incredible story. Cody Kessler, out of the NFL. Connor Cook, out of the NFL.
Cody Kessler.
Yeah, he went to the Browns, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
NFL
Chuck.
Yeah, shout out Chuck. Connor Cook, not in the NFL.
Okay.
Finally, you get to Dak Prescott. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 QBs in front of him, of which only 2 are still, like, even remotely possible starters.
Let me run through it again. Goff, Wentz, Lynch, Hackenberg. Some of my listeners don't even know who these people are.
No.
Brissett, Cody Kessler, Connor Cook. They have all either been cut, benched, or traded, and as Blake said, some are not in the league anymore. The only quarterback from the 2016 NFL draft that has not been cut, benched, or traded is number 4.
Yeah.
But the legend in Starkville at number 15.
Remember when people said Cardell Jones would be a better pro than Dak Prescott?
Yes.
Also not in the NFL.
But there were also people who argued with me on the Mississippi Ag text line that A.J. McCarron was better than Dak Prescott.
Hey, you're talking
because
about
if
Texans
you play
backup.
for Alabama and you have all that talent around you and you win a national title, that means that you're better than Dak Prescott. Or Tim Tebow is better than Dak. I mean, obviously it's not even close. Dak Prescott's 100 times better than Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Goff will start in Detroit. Wentz is, I guess, the starter in Philadelphia. That's a weird situation.
Sure.
And then there's Dak, and that's it. No one else is even competing for a starting job out of this draft class, Bo. That's remarkable. And yet Jerry Jones wants to be like a cat with a toy and just play with Dak's contract. It's remarkable.
So back to that's incredible. That 2016 NFL draft, Dak Prescott, last one standing, hasn't been cut, hasn't been traded, hasn't been benched.
He would be the first pick, right? If you were redrafting these quarterbacks,
No question.
how do you take any one of them before you take Dak Prescott?
Well, he would be the first pick by like 9,000 miles.
I think so.
And like you said, we'll see what happens with Goff in Detroit and with Wentz in Philly.
Goff's
Nobody
done.
else here on this list is even in the conversation.
No, Jacoby Brissett started a little bit, but that was, I mean, as Mike Detillier has pointed out when we talked about where Stafford could go when we thought he might go to Indianapolis.
Yeah.
There's a reason Indianapolis went for Phillip Rivers for a year, and now they're going to be in another quarterback market. It's because they don't believe Jacoby Brissett is a starting quarterback.
Right.
I mean, it just is what it is,
Right.
you know. I think it's remarkable when you look at this that we are at the point where Jared Goff is done, Bo. You can write Jared Goff's career off. Okay, he's not winning in Detroit. It doesn't matter. Stafford's a better quarterback, and he couldn't win in Detroit, as KW mentioned, and I'd forgotten about this one too. But Stafford's had Stafford's had 12 100-yard running backs in his entire career. The Rams had 5 last year.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they don't. Detroit's been abysmal. They've been terrible. They can't do anything.
So you would think that they've already been going to the playoffs. Matthew Stafford from Georgia, SEC boy. You would think that this is a slight upgrade, and a slight upgrade in the NFL is like moving mountains.
Well, and with McVay, think about it. This is not a slight upgrade with a guy like Freddie Kitchens who doesn't know how to work with quarterbacks. This is a slight upgrade for a guy who's already made Jared Goff win games.
That's a good point.
That's what I go to is like, again, you know, having Corral is big for Lane Kiffin, but you can kind of see Lane Kiffin manipulate things and he can work with a quarterback. So you get who you get in there and Lane Kiffin can make something work.
Right.
The quarterback position is even more crucial if you don't have anybody that can do it. So somebody like McVay who is making Goff successful and get to the Super Bowl, if the Rams can make it with Jared Goff, they can make it with Matt Stafford. Let me put it that way.
Let's segue to local. That was a fun 20 minutes on the NFL, and it was Dak Prescott is all over that, his fingerprints, among others. But NFL QB discussion is awesome, and we got Mahomes and Brady this weekend. Let me go to 2 big high schools in the state, in Madison Central and Brandon, and their jobs are open, or maybe they're still open. There seems to be a lot going on. You're listening to the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. It's presented by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home. Save with your local Farm Bureau insurance agent. All right, Blake. So there's all kinds of discussion around what direction they're going to go. And I have there are plenty of people who know more about high school football and football, listening to this show than I do. But I have a theory right now as you're looking at what's going on. You obviously have to figure out the offense. Can you throw it? Most times. There's some programs in the state that can just run power and beat you because they have better dudes most years. But Blake, Madison Central and Brandon produces players for Mississippi State and Ole Miss.
Yeah.
In fact, right now, Mississippi State's starting quarterback is from Brandon High School.
They have an NFL quarterback.
That's right.
I mean,
Gardner Minshew has played and will continue to play in the NFL. So when you look at these jobs and you ask yourself, have they done what they needed to do the last 10, 20, 30 years? They haven't.
No.
Okay. And all I hear is how good of guys, and I agree, the two guys who ended up leaving the programs were and are, whatever. But I have this theory, if you can go 4 wide and you can sling it in high school football, tell me how many times you're going to find 4 DBs, much less try to rotate 2 more throughout the game, 10th to 12th grade, that can cover.
Good luck getting one.
Okay. I mean, it's why MRA could have beat probably anybody in the state of Mississippi this year, or given the 6A last 2 standing a run for their money. But if you can go 4 wide, Blake, and you've got a quarterback that can deliver the football, it is virtually impossible to find 4 to 6 kids on your roster that can cover 4 guys who know what they're doing.
You can't.
And if that team is willing to mix in the run after you totally buy in to try to defend their 4 wide, where are you then? Which, for example, Herbert's had the ability to do. There's been some games where he said, all right, I'll just run it for 280 yards because you're going to make sure that we don't throw it like we want to. But that's very, very. So what are these two are great jobs, right? You make $100,000 a year.
They could be career jobs.
Oh, I mean, if you start winning, you can stay there. You're living. The 2 communities are nothing short of amazing. The quality of life is remarkable in both Rankin and Madison County.
Top 5 high school job in the state.
You'll be the toast of the town. People will buy you lunch and dinner. Boosters will make sure that you stay in their condos and Gulf Shores and debt. I mean, the list goes on. There's nothing wrong with this. The list goes on and on. If you win at any of these programs, these either big MAIS or big MHSAA. So what are they going to do? But how Madison Central has been clunky on offense. Now, when Jimmy was there, is he still on the Tennessee roster? I can't remember. That there's been so much movement there, but I mean, he was a phenomenal athlete playing quarterback, and that was great. But can you get some kind of passing game going? Because do you know how many from DeSoto County down to Biloxi? Do you know how many skill players have been wasted in the state?
Yeah.
They just sit out there their 10th, 11th, and 12th grade year.
Who's the guy that just went to JA? I'm going blank, but the number 1 receiver.
Deion Smith.
Yeah, I mean, that's a guy that could.
He was wasted.
Yeah.
100%. It didn't matter where he was. Yeah. So my point is, can you get the offense? Can you modernize the offense? Can you get it up and running? Can you commit to getting quarterbacks accurate enough to complete passes on Friday night? And do you know how to scheme it up and play call? Because if you go 4 wide, I remember when Hoover did it, what was it, 11 years ago against South Panola?
Yeah.
I'm watching the game, and I'm like, it's obvious South Panola has better athletes and more. Hoover went 4 wide, and they just dinked, and they had a kid, their quarterback was committed to Auburn in baseball. Okay, so he was accurate. And all they were doing, I mean, South Panola, even as good as they were then, they didn't have 4 DBs or slash linebacker, whatever, safeties, bringing them down to cover in the slot, however you're going to do it.
Because they didn't have the formation.
They didn't, because it's just tough to find that many kids 10th through 12th grade on a roster to cover guys that are zigzagging around the field. And you can't do it. And if you give the QB more than 3 seconds, it's because it may be the hardest position to play corner outside of quarterback.
So, it might be harder because you get worse.
Will the Ridgeland high school coach end up at Brandon? I mean, there's a lot of talk about that. There's also talk maybe one metro area coach goes from his school to Madison Central. That'll be interesting too. Live in the Bank Plus studio. More on the way.